Imagine saving $500 every single month for 3 straight years. You finally log into your investment account expecting to feel like a financial genius. Maybe this is the moment everything starts paying off. Maybe the numbers finally look big enough to justify all the discipline, the skipped vacations, the quiet nights when you told yourself you were doing the responsible thing. Then you see the balance. $19,000. You pause. After 3 years of effort, budgeting, and delayed gratification, the result looks almost absurdly small. It's roughly the price of a used Honda Civic. Meanwhile, your coworker casually posts on Slack that his portfolio went up $47,000 last quarter. He didn't deposit anything. The market just did that while he was on vacation. That moment feels brutal. It makes investing feel unfair. It makes you wonder if you misunderstood the whole idea of building wealth. But what you're experiencing isn't failure, it's math. More precisely, it's the physics of wealth accumulation. The brutal reality of the push phase. Think about the early stage of investing like pushing a giant boulder up a mountain. Not a small rock you can kick with your foot. Imagine a 2-ton slab of granite that barely moves when you lean your entire body against it. The first 100 feet are miserable. Your legs shake, your hands burn. Sweat runs down your face. You look back and realize you moved the thing maybe 10 feet after an hour of effort. That is exactly what building your first $100,000 feels like. Slow, frustrating, almost pointless. But that phase isn't a flaw in the system. It's the system working exactly as designed. In the beginning, you are doing almost all the work. Your income is the engine. Your savings rate is the fuel. Market returns are barely noticeable. Imagine you have $5,000 invested, and the market delivers a solid 10% return. That's a very good year historically. Your portfolio grows by $500. $500 is nice, but it doesn't feel like wealth. It feels like you worked all year, and your money contributed the equivalent of a decent dinner reservation. Why the beginning feels so demoralizing? This is where behavioral psychology enters the picture. Human motivation depends heavily on visible progress. Research in behavioral economics consistently shows that delayed rewards weaken persistence. When effort produces only small visible results, the brain interprets the situation as failure, even when the strategy is perfectly correct. For most investors, the first 5 to 7 years of wealth building are driven almost entirely by contributions. You save $6,000. The market adds $400. Your brain interprets the result instantly. I did all the work. And you're not wrong. Compound interest is technically happening during this stage, but it's operating on such a small base that it's almost invisible. This is where most people quit. They watch friends upgrade cars, move into nicer apartments, post travel photos from places they didn't allow themselves to visit. Meanwhile, their brokerage account reads $23,000 after years of sacrifice. It's easy to ask a dangerous question. What's the point? The invisible foundation of wealth. The point is that you are building the foundation for a machine that will eventually operate without you. Foundations are invisible. Nobody congratulates you for pouring concrete. According to long-term market data from investment firms such as Vanguard and Fidelity, it typically takes 7 to 8 years of consistent investing to accumulate the first $100,000 for an average saver, contributing a steady percentage of income. 8 years is a long time, long enough to forget why you started, but that first $100,000 is the activation point. Because once you cross that line, something subtle changes, not emotionally, mathematically. The activation point of compounding. Before that threshold, a 10% market year might produce $500 in growth. After $100,000, the same 10% produces $10,000. Suddenly, the numbers feel real. $10,000 is a used car appearing in your investment account. Because the market had a good year, your contributions still matter. But now they are being amplified by forces outside your direct effort. Your money has begun pulling its own weight. The second $100,000 usually arrives faster than the first. Instead of 8 years, it might take 5. Your behavior hasn't changed. You are still contributing the same amount. But now the equation has flipped sides. The market has become a second engine. The boulder is no longer resisting every inch of movement. It has momentum. People sometimes describe this phase by saying things like, things finally started picking up steam. That description is mathematically accurate. The compounding that felt theoretical during the first decade now behaves like a mechanical force. When the numbers start moving fast, once your portfolio reaches $400,000 or $500,000, scale changes again. In a strong bull market year, your portfolio might grow $60,000 or even $80,000 in 12 months. You didn't save $80,000. You might have saved $15,000. The market generated the rest. Pause for a moment and think about what that means. The collection of companies you own through diversified index funds just produced more income for you than your job did through savings. That moment is a psychological turning point. Your financial future is no longer tied exclusively to trading hours for dollars. You still work. But now, your assets are working beside you. The moment financial independence quietly begins. Financial independence doesn't begin the day you quit your job. It begins the day your assets start generating meaningful growth without your labor. Now here's the uncomfortable truth about reaching that stage faster. You cannot hack compound interest. It's not a productivity trick, it's math, but you can influence the inputs. During the early phase, roughly 80% of your portfolio growth comes from contributions, and only 20% from market returns. That means your most powerful levers is simple. Earn more, spend less, invest the difference. There is no clever algorithm that replaces this process. You are simply feeding the snowball before gravity begins helping you. The most expensive mistake in the push phase. The second lever is time, and time is the variable people waste without realizing it. Starting at 25 instead of 35 might look like a 10-year difference, but because compounding accelerates later, those 10 early years often determine whether someone retires comfortably in their 50s or continues working into their 70s. Now consider the most common mistake during the push phase. Fatigue. After 5 years of discipline, your portfolio reaches $60,000. You feel exhausted. You see something you want. Maybe a new car, maybe a renovation, maybe a bigger apartment. So you withdraw $20,000. Suddenly, the portfolio drops from $60,000 to $40,000. It doesn't feel catastrophic, but mathematically, you didn't just lose $20,000. At 7% annual growth, that $20,000 would become roughly $77,000 over 20 years. You didn't spend $20,000. You spent nearly $80,000 of future wealth. The rule that determines everything. This is why the push phase has one rule. Don't stop pushing. You don't need to outsmart the market. You don't need to pick individual stocks. You don't need to predict recessions. You simply need consistency and patience long enough for the math to take over. Eventually, the threshold arrives. Once your portfolio reaches $500,000 or $600,000, the dynamics change again. The swings become massive. A bad month might reduce your portfolio by $30,000. A good month might add $50,000. These numbers are not savings anymore. They are market movements. The first time your net worth fluctuates by more than your annual salary. It feels surreal, but experienced investors develop a different mental framework. Volatility is the cost of long-term growth. The trap that destroys momentum. Now comes one of the most dangerous traps in wealth building: lifestyle inflation. After 10 years of discipline, your portfolio hits $600,000. Your brain whispers a seductive sentence: I made it. You upgrade the house, finance the car you always wanted, start traveling more. Lifestyle costs rise 40%, your savings rate collapses. You didn't destroy your financial future, but you slowed the snowball. The difference between $600,000 and $1 million might have taken 4 years. With lower contributions, it might now take 8. You traded velocity for comfort. That may be worth it, but it should be a conscious trade. The exponential phase of wealth. Someone sitting at $700,000 who maintains a strong savings rate for 3 more years often crosses 1 million faster than expected. Once the portfolio reaches 7 figures, the math becomes dramatic. A 10% year produces $100,000 in growth. Your portfolio may earn more in a year than your salary. This is where another psychological trap appears. People start believing they should do something sophisticated with their money. Real estate deals, angel investing, private opportunities. Sometimes those strategies succeed. Often they simply convert a passive compounding system into a second job. Tenants, repairs, legal risk, taxes. Meanwhile, broad index funds tracking the S&P 500 have historically outperformed most active strategies over long periods. Sometimes the smartest move is the simplest. Leave the machine alone. Let it compound. The final paradox of financial independence. Decades later, the question changes again. At around $1.5 million invested, the issue is no longer whether wealth can be built. The real question becomes lifestyle. What do you actually want your life to look like? At that level, a 4% withdrawal rate, often discussed in retirement research, can generate roughly $60,000 per year, adjusted for inflation indefinitely. For many households, that represents financial independence, yet many people do not retire even when the math says they can. Because the final challenge of wealth building isn't financial, it's psychological. For decades, you defined yourself by your career, your productivity, your role. Walking away can feel like losing your identity. You're not just retiring from a job. You are redefining who you are. Money cannot solve that problem. That is why the smartest investors build more than portfolios. They build hobbies, friendships, curiosity, a life outside work. Because when financial independence arrives, the goal is not simply to stop working. The goal is to have something meaningful to live for. The real meaning of the snowball effect. If you are still in the early phase pushing the boulder uphill, remember something important. No one throws a parade when you reach your first $100,000. There is no trophy, no ceremony. One random Tuesday, you log into your account, see 6 figures, and probably feel nothing. But that's the point. The system worked. Not because you predicted the market, not because you were lucky, but because you built a process that quietly compounded in the background while you lived your life. That is the snowball effect. And once it starts rolling, it becomes extraordinarily difficult to stop. Thanks for watching.